Hey, welcome to episode 21 of the Loper Show. I'm, of course, Loper, and appreciate you guys being here. And, you know, I wanted to figure out how I could show my appreciation. So I got a bunch of really awesome stadium tickets, 4-day passes to go to Sonic Temple this year. And all you have to do is just support the show. Follow us on YouTube, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and one of the podcast audio-only platforms. It's super easy. You guys just go follow us there, and boom. You're in on a random drawing, and we have, I believe, 4 pairs of the 4-day passes to go to Sonic Temple. So we'll start announcing some of these winners next week here on the show. But if you haven't yet, just go on, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and one of the audio-only podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music. You know, I get all the data so I can tell who's following, and I'll link your name up at random. And if you are the winner, boom, you're in, absolutely free, courtesy of the Loper Show. This week's show, we're going to talk some TV, man. There's so much interesting stuff going on with TV these days. New shows coming out. I know the new Harry Potter series on HBO is set to be absolute fire from some of the rumblings that I've heard. And I want to talk a little bit about the ending of White Lotus. I want to talk about Daredevil. So we're going to have later in the show today, Damon Martin, one of my good friends and owner of nerdcoremovement.com, the website, come on the show, and he will bless us with his presence and TV knowledge. So last week on the show, we had J. Michael Phillips on, and he was absolutely incredible. You guys did big numbers with J. Michael Phillips. All of the fans that he had that were not already fans of this podcast have come over and subscribed, and I've really seen the movement, so I do appreciate that if you are new to the show. But I got to tell you, man, the Yelawolf 45 tour that I saw last Thursday here in Columbus, Ohio at the Bluestone, which is this killer venue. We were talking about it in the last podcast, so I don't want to go on too much about the venue, but just this amazing church in the middle of downtown Columbus. It's an old Greek Orthodox church, I believe, and just the acoustics inside alone are incredible. What they've done to make the club more visually appealing is awesome, while keeping like the old flair that it always had as an actual church. It's just cool. It's like badass and creepy and all of that rolled into one. But the tour was amazing. I mean, J. Michael Phillips, that was the first time that I had seen him live in concert. And man, just absolutely beautiful in concert. I mean, the voice was on point. The crowd was super into it, especially for a new artist. I mean, he drew a huge crowd. I didn't really know what to expect, but, you know, it was totally sold out at the Bluestone. And by the time Yelawolf hit the stage, the crowd was just absolutely ferocious for more music. And Yelawolf hits the stage. First of all, the backdrop of his set was this really cool, like, pop-up camper. And it was, like, so fitting for him. But at the top of the camper was his DJ. And his DJ is really something special, too, and, you know, has a different look than most DJs that you would expect to back up a hip-hop artist. But Yelawolf came out, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be the first one to say it. Yelawolf is in his graduation era. You know, like when Kanye West hit his stride with Graduation, not talking about where he is today. We're talking about Graduation. Even like, you know, Lil Wayne with the Carter 3. Yelawolf is there. This 45 tour, all of the latest music that he's been coming out with. I was even lucky enough to hear some of the unreleased stuff that's going to drop with Yelawolf and J. Michael Phillips, the album that they're doing together, the collab. Just absolutely amazing stuff. And, dude, it translated totally on stage. Yelawolf got up there, absolutely killed it, played all the songs you wanted to hear. I was at all kinds of different vantage points in the venue. At one point, I was behind the soundboard. I was side stage. I was in the crowd. I wanted to hear it from all different angles. And if you still have time, I mean, all of my Nashville audience, I'm telling you, I'm going to come home to Nashville and see the show there. So you got a little bit of time for that. I believe the second leg of the tour will start in the fall, is what J. Michael was saying. And that's when the Nashville show will happen. But for all of our South Florida audience, no show yet. Maybe Yelawolf will put something on the books. We'll see what happens. If not, everybody come up to Nashville and we'll party once again in the fall. Another show that happened was Bobaflex this past Saturday night, and they were amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing at the legendary Newport right across from Ohio State. And they hadn't played a show in at least, I mean, I know for sure like a year or so, maybe longer. And I got to be honest with you guys, man. They got up there like they had missed no time at all. And Marty, his new band with Jimmy, I really like what they do too. But sometimes it's really refreshing to hear the guys come home. And that's kind of like what it was. It was like a homecoming of sorts. And, they were just absolutely on fire. And honestly, better than I've ever seen them before. So there's only going to be a few Bobaflex shows that they're going to do. And if you get a chance to check out one of the ones coming to your area, I definitely suggest you do that. So with Sonic Temple right around the corner, Rockville right around the corner, the loudest month in May, well, we pause to acknowledge what happens in April, and that's Coachella. So over the past 2 weekends, it just wrapped up this past weekend in the Coachella Valley. There was a lot of stuff to go on, and I got to be honest, I would never buy tickets to that concert. I hear it's an absolute nightmare to get in and out of, and at best, there's maybe ever a handful of bands that I would actually want to see that play Coachella. Now, and that's fine. I mean, obviously, there's got to be music festivals for people of all music tastes. But one of the cool things that happened at Coachella was Dave Grohl actually came out and played live at Coachella. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, like you get a little treat, and I love like surprise appearances. And can you imagine like the surprise appearance is Dave Grohl? And all of the stuff that Dave Grohl's kind of had to go through in the past year with his infidelity and fathering a child outside of his marriage, and people just flipping out and making, I think, a way bigger deal out of something that's personal than they should. It was nice to see him go out there, play Everlong, sound incredible. I'll tell you one thing that Coachella does that I absolutely do love is the fact that they broadcast the entire show both weekends 24/7 live on YouTube. So you don't have to pay for it. Everybody has YouTube, and literally you can watch it from anywhere. Like if you're at the house and you have to step out for a little bit, I mean, not only is it there live on your phone, but you can go back to it later if you want to. So I think that's where they're absolutely killing it. And if you haven't seen that performance from Dave Grohl at Coachella, not only will I put it in the comment section below, or in the description rather, but I will also ask you guys in the comments to tell me what you thought of it. All right, standing by, my friend, the one and only Damon Martin. We're going to get him on here, talk all things TV. So much to get to. White Lotus, Daredevil, the new Harry Potter series on HBO, and we'll get to it in 30 seconds.
Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival, the pinnacle of rock festivals in America, returns in 2025 with Linkin Park, Korn, 2 nights of Metallica, no repeat weekend, plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Alice in Chains, Rob Zombie, 3 Days Grace, Alice Cooper, I Prevail, Jimmy Eat World, Chevelle, Motionless in White, and so many more. May 8th to the 11th at Historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Passes on sale now at SonicTempleFestival.com.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Loper Show. One of my buddies here, a former podcast partner of mine, the one, the only, Damon Martin. How are you?
I'm good. Don't ever say former. We're always podcast partners.
You know what? I agree with that. Yeah, shame on me, man. People can find you at MMA Fighting if you are a mixed martial arts fan. Damon is like the leading writer for all things mixed martial arts and has been for, well over the last decade. Dude, I want to talk some TV today, though.
Let's get into it. There's lots going on in TV right now.
There's a lot going on, and there's a lot going on your website, nerdcoremovement.com. So if you guys are listening to this and you're like, dude, I really dig what you guys are talking about, you're going to love Damon's website. It's absolutely just covered and riddled in all things that are nerd culture. And if that's your thing, you're going to love it. I want to start somewhere where I don't think you're going to expect me to start. So I want to start with the new Daredevil, Born Again. Now, we would go back has it been 10 years since it was originally on Netflix?
Yeah, it's been a while. It was I want to say 2016, I think it was 2016, so right around 10 years now since it debuted on Netflix, which is wild to think about when that actually came out.
It really is. I mean, I was, it's funny because, going back 10, 11 years, I also got a notification that it's been 11 years since Matt Brown fought in Cincinnati against Eric Silva. So, yeah, man, time does fly.
Yeah, funny enough, we were actually just talking about that. Obviously, I do the podcast with Matt Brown every week. We were just talking about his fight in Cincinnati where he got his kids, where he was able to bring his kids into the octagon. And I was like, because some fighters don't like bringing their kids to fights. And I was like, but then you get cool moments like that, and it kind of works out okay. But, like Daredevil, I remember when that deal got done and Netflix was bought, basically got the rights to a few different Marvel characters and shows. And it was the gritty Marvel. It was like the first time we saw those kind of gritty, bloody, I guess not quite R-rated, but definitely a hard PG-13, like definitely harder than anything you've seen in a Marvel movie on those Netflix shows. And yeah, that changed the game for what Marvel could be at that point.
Yeah, because I mean, Daredevil, for all intents and purposes, in a certain way, is kind of like Marvel's Batman. And, when the Batman story is best told, it's always, it's got that just absolute cool backdrop where things are not only gritty, but scary. You're like, Gotham's a scary ass place. And so is Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, it's funny because like when you look at the comic books, like they call them street level heroes, like where basically they're not, they have powers and abilities, but they're not Superman. They're not, they're not of that kind of power. And they're grittier stories. I mean, Daredevil is exactly that. He's a street level hero. He grew up in Hell's Kitchen in New York City. So to tell those stories properly and to actually, if you spend any time in New York City, that you can't just tell this story with like a sugar coating. You gotta pull the Band-Aid off, man. And it's gonna be some open wounds and some blood and some guts and some craziness and some cursing. And I appreciated that, the realism of that show and the grittiness and the nastiness of that show. And then to their credit, man, Born Again has taken that same concept and actually added a few more steroids, because this season was pretty wild, very bloody, very graphic, very, out there. And kudos, because, I think, listen, this isn't a show your 10-year-old kid needs to watch, but I think we're all adults now. We can understand like what blood is, what bad language is. Like, we can handle it.
Yeah, and just like the comic books, not all comics are made for kids. And, so when you're telling that story cinematically on TV or in a movie, I think it's only appropriate that, certain comic book movies are not made for kids. They're made for adults. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but going back to the Netflix version of Daredevil, we saw the introduction of Frank Castle, who is the Punisher on that, right?
Correct. Yeah, he came in season 2, and then, of course, he spun off and got his own show.
Yeah, and that show was badass, too. And it was, what's his name? Shane from The Walking Dead.
Jon Bernthal. Yeah, Jon Bernthal. Incredible actor. Great chemistry with Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil. Incredible. And they are doing actually a Punisher, like, I will say like a mini series, like a little mini show. They're doing like a special for Disney Plus in the near future. I don't know when exactly it's going to come out, but it's like a Punisher special. So it's almost like a mini movie they're going to do. And so seeing him back, Jon Bernthal is incredible. He's one of my favorite actors. So seeing him back as the Punisher, like, he just embodies that role. Like, that show was so good. And there's just certain actors, like, it's hard to imagine anyone else playing, it's hard to imagine anyone else playing Tony Stark, but Robert Downey Jr. It's almost impossible now to think of the Punisher and not think of Jon Bernthal.
Oh my God. Who played the Punisher in the original, like, terrible late 80s?
So Dolph Lundgren played it in the movie. Yeah. And then they did another version with Thomas Jane, which I actually really like that one. That's actually not a bad one. And then they did another one with Ray Stevenson, who sadly passed away. So they've had like different iterations of the Punisher in the movies, but Dolph Lundgren is the one you're talking about. Boy, is that movie bad.
Matt, yeah. It was so funny because it was at the height of him as an actor, too, coming fresh out of the Rocky movies. I think they thought they couldn't miss with that. And boy, did they miss. I mean, that was rough. But, it's interesting. So with Universal Studios right now, they're about to open Epic Universe out there. And, with the split of Marvel and Universal, and now Disney acquiring certain superheroes from the world, because I am correct, right? Like Universal will get to keep certain superheroes in their park and have rides based on them, such as like Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk, I believe. And then there's going to be an actual Marvel world that comes to one of the Disney parks. And man, if they were really on the stick, it would be their chance to definitely gain some ground on Universal if they would actually put an attraction that had like featured Daredevil for adults. That would be sick.
100%. I mean, I remember when they opened like Harry Potter World, and like how big Harry Potter World was for Universal. Like when they did that, like you can literally visit Hogwarts. Like for Harry Potter fans, that's insane. And so building a world around Marvel would be just a really, and I remember when they did the Star Wars one, like I had friends that went out for like the opening week of the Star Wars one, and it's insane getting to actually step on the Millennium Falcon, like actually getting to be in Avengers Tower or being in some of the scenes from the show. Coolest thing ever. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how they don't take advantage of that. I mean, Disney has all the money in the world, and Marvel remains one of their biggest properties along with Star Wars. So how would you not want to do that?
And it almost seems like they need it the most. I mean, if anybody needs a facelift, it's Disney World, because Disney World became, I grew up in South Florida, so we would go to Disney 3-4 times a year. And, after the age of like 8, until you have kids, it's not really all that fun anymore. And I think this could really be their chance to step it up and be relevant again.
I'm speaking on a much smaller scale as an Ohio kid, but I remember going to Kings Island as a kid, and that was like the coolest thing ever. And then I remember people being like, have you been to Cedar Point? And Cedar Point just had better roller coasters. And so I went to Cedar Point, and it was like a whole other world. So yes, I'm speaking in Ohio terms only for those lunatics of us from the Midwest, but like same kind of thing. Like Kings Island was the cool thing forever. And then it's like, oh, Cedar Point has these really badass rides. We're going to go there instead. No different. Universal stepped up their game, and it almost feels like Disney's a little aged now, a little longer in the tooth, so to speak.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I one of the things I was thinking about you the other day is, so my girlfriend's there right now, Jen. She's actually at Universal, and she's going for the opening of the Epic Universe next weekend. And the monsters, like the classic horror monsters that they have featured in one section of Epic Universe, the animatronics are out of this world. I mean, just the video that I've seen on Instagram alone, I can't wait to see it in person.
Yeah, I mean, and they've revamped the Universal Monsters, and that's been a big push for Universal for a lot of years. I know they're doing a new like horror themed, not quite a park, but like an attraction in Las Vegas too. That's going to be really cool, and I'm actually going to 100% going to check that out. But they're rebooting. They're rebooting the Universal Monsters. They did the Invisible Man a couple years ago. They just did Wolfman this year, and then the Mummy is being actually produced. It's actually in production right now by a guy named Lee Cronin, who did Evil Dead Rise, which was an incredible reboot of the Evil Dead universe. And that's going to be a reboot of the Mummy. And we're getting Maggie Gyllenhaal is doing a Bride of Frankenstein movie. There is a Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie coming out. So these monsters are all going to get rebooted here, and everyone loves the original Universal monsters: Frankenstein, Dracula, the Mummy, the Wolfman. And so why not take advantage of that?
Bride of Frankenstein. I mean, she looks great. She looks great. So you mentioned Harry Potter, and we'll stay in the realm of Universal for just a second. But Harry Potter not coming to the big screen, but coming back to, the small screen. And actually, for the first time, I said coming back, but this will be the first time that it's not in the form of a movie. So this is going to be on HBO, and they've just recasted everybody. And like John Lithgow is going to play the part of Dumbledore. They have what's her name? She was in the Ozarks.
Who am I thinking of for that one? I know I've gotten the press release on this before.
She's playing McGonagall. Is that how you say it?
Oh, McGonagall. Yeah.
So that's who she's playing.
Oh yeah. So you got, I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, John Lithgow, Janet McTeer. Yeah. Nick Frost, who is awesome. I love Nick Frost. He's great. They haven't cast the kids yet. That's the one thing they haven't done yet. They haven't cast the kids yet, so we don't know who's going to be playing Harry and Hermione and all them. But they've casted John Lithgow as the big one, of course, playing Dumbledore. It's I think it'll be interesting, because I remember when the Harry Potter movies came out, and they were so huge, like you could not avoid. It was the biggest thing in the world.
For sure.
And we're more than a decade past that now, and you kind of wonder, like, is it still as relevant? Are people going to be as excited? We'll see. I mean, I think once the show comes out, we'll kind of see, because there's so much content to consume right now. I mean, you got, on HBO alone, you got, The Last of Us is on right now, which is an incredible show. House of the Dragon, you got more Game of Thrones spinoffs coming. So will people still be excited for Harry Potter? I think they will, but it's going to be interesting, because time passes and people kind of move on. And is the new generation of fans still as excited about Harry Potter as they were a decade ago? We'll find out.
Yeah, they said they're going to play into the comedy aspect of Harry Potter a little more with this, and that was one of the reasons they picked up John Lithgow.
Yeah, like my girlfriend is a huge Harry Potter fan, and she loved the books, and she liked the movies a lot. But of course, when you're condensing a 400 or 500 page book into a 2-hour movie, of course you're going to have to leave things out and twist and turn things around a little bit. And from my understanding, even though I never read the books, they are pretty faithful to the original material. But when you get an 8 or a 10 episode season, like they were going to make a Game of Thrones movie years ago. Like before it was ever a TV show on HBO, George R.R. Martin had struck a deal to do a movie. And can you even imagine what they'd have to leave out to do a Game of Thrones movie? So like
even down to 3 hours would be impossible.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like Harry Potter is very much like Game of Thrones. Like I feel like it's going to be better built for TV than movies, honestly.
Yeah, and so for all the fans that are going to the theme parks, once Epic Universe does open, if you own a wand that you bought at Universal Studios, it will not work at Epic Universe. You have to get a new one to cast spells over there. So just to let y'all know, I don't know if you were concerned or not, but that's the info I'm getting. Let's go back. You mentioned The Last of Us, and I just watched the first episode of the new season. Absolutely incredible. I kind of forgot how good that show was because it's been a few years.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. It came out, literally more than 2 years ago when it came out. And, you remember, obviously, Loper, we're about the same age. Like when TV came out, like you would go 9 months, and there'd be a new season. And now with this kind of what we call like prestige format TV, we go 2-3 years between seasons. So you have to kind of remind yourself what happened. But The Last of Us is incredible. It was an adaptation of a video game. I never played the video game, but I have friends who did, and they raved about that video game. The show's great. Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey. They added a new cast members this season. Caitlin Deaver's in this season. And episode 2, no spoilers since that sounds like you haven't seen it, but hold on to your hat because, oh my God, it is an emotional gut punch like you've not experienced. And just hold on. Just trust me. When you watch this episode, like record your reactions because you're going to want to document this moment.
Yeah. I forgot how good it was, and I forgot where I was in the series. I watched the last episode of the first season, and then of course the recap at the beginning of the first episode, and you just brought me right back. I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, that's exactly where we are.
Yeah, like I'm a huge horror fan, and I've always said it's really difficult to do horror shows just because horror innately. You kill off a lot of characters, and it's hard to it's hard to keep your interest when like your lead characters are getting killed right away or they're dying in a season. So you have to find ways to hook people in. That's why I think like an anthology show like American Horror Story did well because you're just getting a new cast every year. Now that show went to hell; it's no longer any good. But I love the.
What do you think happened with that show?
I think they just ran out of ideas, and it stopped being even the least bit scary and got really just corny.
It was so good.
It like the first 10 seasons, there were like 6 or 7 really good seasons in there, and then they leaned too much into like the campy comedy and the corniness of it all, and it stopped being good. Like I think the last 2 seasons I've just skipped completely because like I tried to watch one season. I was like, this is just bad. Like I don't have time. There's a lot of other shows I could be watching than spending an hour every week watching this garbage.
I agree. I totally agree. So let me ask you, what was your reaction to the ending of White Lotus, man, which is a show I absolutely loved all 3 seasons. This season, it took me a second to kind of get into it. I don't know if you felt the same way. I was kind of interested to hear your opinion, but it wasn't until like the 3rd episode of this season, I was still kind of side-eyeing it a little bit. And then it just absolutely exploded, and it might be one of my favorite seasons.
It's weird because the White Lotus doesn't really have like a concept. It's just a bunch of rich people or wealthy people hanging out at a exclusive resort. So it's kind of weird. Like I remember when the show came out the first season, someone was like, you got to check out the White Lotus. And it was right when it was coming out. And it had an incredible cast. Sure. And I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And I watched the first episode and I was like, I liked it, but I still didn't really understand what I was watching. Like I'm just watching people on vacation. Like that's the show. And
I love a vacation, but I kind of felt the same way. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but then they find a way to hook you in, the characters and the stories and the way they kind of interact. And like I had a lot, like I actually thought season 2 was better than season 1. But getting into season 3, like I was like, look, I know they're going to get me eventually. I'm a huge Walton Goggins fan, so I loved him. I'm a big Michelle Monaghan fan. I was like, you know what? I have faith. And by like episode 3, 4, it really picked up steam. And
Yeah.
The ending was crazy. It was a great ending, and I know it irritated a lot of people, but it was a great show. I know they're already renewed for season 4, so
so that was my next question. So they did renew it. Because
I want to say it was renewed. Like, I think it was renewed like the day or the week of the debut, because they knew how big it was going to be. So like they immediately renewed it. So yeah, it's coming back for a 4th season. And I know they were talking about doing like the potential of doing like an all-star season where they bring back cast members from different seasons and all have them at the White Lotus at the same time. I don't know if that's going to happen for season 4, but it sounds like it could happen down the road.
Dude, the craziest part of season 3 was like when they did the little offshoot to Bangkok, and he went to handle business with who he thought was the guy that killed his dad. The whole way that developed, I was like, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be good. And it turned out to be one of the greatest episodes. Well, kind of like spanned 2 episodes of the entire season.
It was incredible. I mean, that whole thing, I mean, it's like I said, Walton Goggins is a force of nature. And so when you add him in there, and then you get Sam Rockwell, who is an Oscar winner. And for those who don't know, Leslie Bibb, who played one of the 3 women on the show, that's her long-term boyfriend. They're not married, but they've been together for like 14 years. And so they got Sam Rockwell to come on the show, Oscar winner. And everyone, of course, remembers the monologue sitting down at the dinner table, the classic Walton Goggins reaction shots of hearing Sam Rockwell's monologue. I mean, again, it's not fair. You're playing with so much talent and so much, such well-written material. It's just like not fair for other shows. Like, man, can't we do this? Can't we do the White Lotus? And no, you can't. Mike White's the only one who can do it.
So we do know that was the 4 seasons in Thailand, but do we have any idea where season 4 will be filmed?
So Mike White, the creator, hinted that he's like, I feel like we need to get away from everything being near water instead of just everything being a beach location. So that immediately had people thinking maybe they were going to do like a snow location, like a ski resort. But then later on down the road, he was like, but I have a hard time believing we're going to get our cast members to sign up for 6 months in a place and it's going to be cold the entire time, because part of the benefit, like all the actors who did this, they lived in Thailand for 6 months. Like, of course they travel back and forth occasionally, but they were living in Thailand for 6 months. It's going to be hard to convince somebody living in California to go hang out in like Colorado where it's snowing for 6 months. So they're like, yeah, we may not do a beach, but I think we're still probably going to keep it kind of warm.
Totally. All right. So one of the other shows that's absolutely red hot and in its final season is The Righteous Gemstones. I mean, where are you at with that?
So I actually was a late arriver to that show. And like I said, I'm a big Walton Goggins fan. And when I saw clips on TV about like, again, it's got a great cast, great people behind it. I got into it. I'm not a huge, like, for comedy shows, they really have to do something different to hook me. Like, I was a big Silicon Valley fan. Yeah. But Eastbound and Down, I mean, come on, how could you not love that? And of course, Walton Goggins playing Baby Billy, like, it's hilarious. It's Veep was another one. Like, they just get it. And so yeah, it's a really funny show.
It is really great, and I think Danny McBride, I think he's doing the right thing by ending the show this season. I think I don't know how much more ridiculous that show can get and over the top. I mean, they do top themselves every week. I was like so curious. The first episode of this season was such a departure from anything that the show is. Literally midway through the show, I didn't know if I had smoked too much or like what, but I was like, what am I watching again? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It's the Gemstones. Like, how did you feel about that?
I loved it. And they got Bradley Cooper. I mean, come on. Like, I'll be honest, like, some of the episodes this season where I'm kind of like, yeah, I think it's kind of time. Like, I think it's kind of time to end the show. But Danny McBride, I mean, again, what he did with Eastbound and Down, what he did with Vice Principals, what he's doing with this, like, the guy gets it, man. He gets comedy, and he kind of makes my brand of comedy. Like, Danny McBride kind of like has a direct line to my humor. And so, yeah, I like, it's a good time to end it, but I think it's going to go out on a good note.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for the update. Always love having you on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Damon Martin. Go to the website, nerdcoremovement.com. And, dude, I really appreciate you doing it today.
Anytime, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother.
Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival, the pinnacle of rock festivals in America, returns in 2025 with Linkin Park, Core, 2 nights of Metallica, no repeat weekend, plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Alice in Chains, Rob Zombie, 3 Days Grace, Alice Cooper, I Prevail, Jimmy Eat World, Chevelle, Motionless in White, and so many more. May 8th to the 11th at Historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Passes on sale now at SonicTempleFestival.com.
Yo, thanks guys for watching this week. And if you want those Sonic Temple 4-day passes, please don't forget to go follow us on all of our social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, very important, and one of the audio podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, whatever your choice is. You just get in there, you follow us on all of those different platforms, and boom, you're in for 4-day passes to go to Sonic Temple, and it's going to be a banger this year, guys. Thanks to my buddy Damon Martin for coming on talking TV, and most of all, thanks to you guys, man. Like and subscribe to the channel, and give this video a like too, please. You know, it helps with the algorithm, and we'll catch you guys next week for episode 22. Thanks. Hey, what's up? Thanks for watching The Loper Show, and if you haven't yet, hey, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and please keep coming back for more content.